Hey friends, welcome back. It's Loree with the blog wagonwheelhomestead.com, and I'm here today to show you our favorite yeast sandwich bread recipe. Now, we typically make all of our flour products with sourdough, but once in a while we do like to have just a really quick and easy sandwich bread recipe, and we rely on this so much in the summertime. It's a sweet sandwich bread recipe, and it is made out of white flour, which my family prefers. I like to make things with some whole wheat flour because it has a bit more nutrition, but this recipe is by far a lot cheaper than buying bread at the store, and it's also way more nutritious even if it's made sweet and with white flour. So, sometimes we find compromise, right, between what our family really would like, and when we're busy in the summer and we need lots of sandwich bread around for all different kinds of fillings, so we can easily make things from our homestead pantry to put in these sandwiches, then this sandwich bread is really what we rely on. So I will also be showing you soon how to make sourdough sandwich bread, and you can look for that on this channel. But for today, we're going to talk about an easy yeast sandwich bread recipe. So come along and I'll show you how I put this together. I make this several times a week. It's very fast. It probably takes me less than 5 minutes of active time to make this, so I can easily make this up at breakfast and have it ready to bake by lunchtime, or I can make it up at lunch and have it ready to bake by supper. And you can make this ahead of time and put a whole bunch in the freezer, but I find for our large family, I just make it 2 or 3 times a week, and then it's fresh and we really like to eat it that way. So anyway, come along with me and I'll show you how we put it together. Okay, I'm starting out with 2 cups of milk or buttermilk, doesn't matter, and I warmed this in the microwave, or you could warm it on the stove also. I just put it in for about 45 seconds. And I'm going to use 2 cups. It's not quite enough, hang on. Okay, and then 2 cups of warm water, right around 110 degrees. I don't usually check the temperature, just so it's not too hot, but warm enough to activate the yeast. Then we're gonna go ahead and add our yeast, and this is a recipe for 4 loaves. If you wanted to make less, you could cut down on the amount by just cutting it in half. I'm gonna use my yeast from Azure Standard, active dry yeast. You can also use instant yeast, it doesn't really matter. And I'm gonna put 3 tablespoons of yeast in here. By the way, if you go to the blog wagonwheelhomestead.com, you can print off the recipe. There's a full printable recipe and lots more information there as well. Then we're going to put in 3 teaspoons of salt. And 1 1/3 cups of sugar. You can use less sugar if you prefer. This is just the way my family prefers it. Whoops. By the way, this is my Bosch mixer. It's the absolute best mixer I've ever used. I use this several times a week, and so I will link that in the description box below. I would highly suggest that you invest in a Bosch mixer if you're going to do any amount of baking at all. Now I'm going to add 1/2 cup of melted butter. You could use coconut oil, regular oil, any kind of fat is fine. 1/2 cup of melted butter. I'm going to just turn it on. Okay, and then I'm going to add 11 cups of bread flour. You can use regular all-purpose flour. They might not be quite as tall of loaves, but they'll be just fine. So I always measure exactly 11 cups of bread flour, or until the dough is coming or pulling away from the edge of your bowl. And typically that's always right at 11 cups of flour for me for this batch of 4 loaves. Then I'm just gonna let this mix for a few minutes while I do some other things in my kitchen. So again, it probably took me less than 3 minutes to put all of these ingredients in here, and I'm just gonna turn the mixer up on a number 2 and let it mix for 7 to 10 minutes. I'm just gonna remove the bowl from my stand mixer, and then we're gonna go stick this into another bowl to raise. You don't wanna leave it in this bowl to raise because it's so much dough that it'll actually can break the lid on the mixer bowl. Don't ask me how I know that. So anyway, let's put this into a bowl. Okay, so I'm just gonna pull this right out of here, and all of this, get all the nice bread dough off. Okay, and then I'm just gonna dump it right into this bowl. And be sure to stick around to the end of the video because I'm gonna show you one of our favorite sandwich fillings from the canned venison or beef that we have in our homestead pantry. And you will be sure to want to see that. It's great for meals during busy seasons of life. All right. And the dough is a bit stickier than I like, but it's going to be just fine. I find that just sometimes, however the flour turns out, it's a little bit different, but it always turns into beautiful sandwich loaves. So I'm just going to let this sit right here. I'm going to cover it with a cloth. Come back in an hour or so, it's gonna be poofing way out of the bowl. We will shape it, and then once it's raised again, we will stick it in the oven. So again, I probably don't have any more than 5 minutes of active time into this at this point. All right, it's been a little over an hour. Sometimes I leave this even 2 or 3 hours if I'm busy outside, but this is what it looks like. So I'm just gonna punch it down. That's always satisfying. Super fun, and I've got 4 bread pans here. These are 8-inch bread pans. I'll be sure to link something similar for you down in the description box below. I've had these for years and years. I am just greasing them with just a little bit of butter here. You can use any kind of fat or oil, or you can spray them, it doesn't matter. I have lots of butter because we have our own Jersey milk cows. So butter is often the fat of choice at our house. We also like to do things with beef tallow, but butter is what I have available right now. And I'm just wiping in the corners and up the sides. I typically don't have any trouble with this sticking, but it's still nice to get them greased well. Okay, and then I'm just gonna dump this right out. It's a lot less sticky than it was. Very similar to how sourdough is after you let it set for a while. It's typically not as sticky. And again, I make this bread probably 3 times a week in the summertime. For my dough cutter and I don't see it, so I'm just gonna use my pie cutter and it will work just fine. And I'm just basically separating this into 4 pieces. Now, you can weigh this out if you want to get exact perfect loaves, but I'm telling you, with my family, these are gonna be eaten so quick that you're not even gonna know whether one was a little bit smaller than the other. I'm gonna put a little bit of flour down here since they are a little bit sticky. Okay, and then I don't get super picky about shaping my loaves. Again, you can, but I'm just gonna show you what I do because I wanna make this bread. So what I do is I leave it spread out. Okay, I'm gonna take one corner and fold it in, and the other corner and fold it in. So it's kind of a triangle. And then I'm just gonna roll it up, keeping some tension on the dough. Kind of tuck in the ends, okay? And put it right in to the pan, okay? Next, Again, my goal is to make bread for my family and not spend more than 5 minutes on making 4 loaves. And if you do the math on what this costs you for bread flour, you don't have very much money into this bread. And again, it's way healthier because there's no dough conditioners or weird ingredients in this bread. So even though it's white bread, it's still much healthier for you than it would be if you bought it from the store. Okay, right in there. One more. Get him over here on the flour. Okay, just kind of push him out. One over, the other one over, roll it up. There we go. We're gonna have sandwich bread in no time at all. This works great for not only sandwiches, but you can use it for French toast, for regular toast, for garlic bread, for hamburger buns if you are out of hamburger buns. I mean, you can use bread for everything. If you have bread, you can make a meal out of anything. So I'm gonna cover it back up with our towel, okay? And I'm going to turn my oven on to 350 degrees so that when these are risen, it will be ready to just stick right into the oven. We'll bake it for 30 minutes at 350 degrees, cool it off, and we will have our bread for the next 2 or 3 days. All right, you can see that it's risen well, almost to the top of the pan. So we're gonna very carefully just stick this into the oven at 350 degrees for 30 minutes, then we'll take it out, let it cool, and we'll have some amazing yeast sandwich bread. All right, it's been 30 minutes. Time to take it out of the oven. There it is. All right, I'm just gonna dump these out. I just stack up my bread pans like this and leave them for the next time. I don't wash them every single time because they really don't have anything on them that's gonna go bad. So yeah, then the next thing that I like to do is take my little brush here stick it in some butter, and I just wipe the tops of my bread with a little bit of butter. You don't have to do this, but it just makes it softer and a little more sandwich-like, similar to what you might get at the store. All right, so we're gonna use some of this tonight to make garlic toast to go with our spaghetti. Then tomorrow morning, we're also going to slice this and make some sandwiches for lunches, and I'm gonna show you how we make our beef salad sandwiches, so stay tuned for that. All right, it's the next morning and I am going to make up some lunches for my husband. So these are the bread bags that I get. They're really inexpensive from Amazon. And for us, I just put 2 loaves in each. You can put 1 loaf in if you want. But anyway, I will link these in the description box below. So anyway, I'm just gonna pull out a loaf. These are just beautiful. Okay, gonna slice it. I'm actually gonna make 4 sandwiches this morning because my son will also be working. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 slices of bread. Okay, and then I'm gonna make the filling. So I just made this 2 or 3 days ago, and I'm gonna refill my bowl. This is our favorite beef salad sandwiches. So this is canned venison or canned beef, either one. This is from our homestead pantry. I'll link that pantry tour here. So what I'm gonna do is mix this up with some sweet relish. This is made with zucchini and cucumbers from the garden, salt and pepper. and some Miracle Whip. Now, a lot of times I make my own homemade mayo, and you certainly can do that. I'm using Miracle Whip today just because I am out of oil to make the homemade mayo, and it's actually cheaper to buy Miracle Whip or mayonnaise than it is to make it, just because of the current cost of oil. I'm working on a recipe for making Miracle Whip or mayonnaise with something like beef tallow, which would be a lot cheaper for me to source than regular oil. Anyway, so when you can beef or venison, you put some beef tallow on the top of your jar, and that's what gives it its flavor. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just pull all that beef tallow off the top. I tell you what, having canned meat in your pantry is such a convenience. Like, you can make so many things. Beef and noodles, we have a lot of canned chicken and canned turkey, and so, you know, we can easily make chicken and noodles, chicken noodle soup. I mean, the sky is the limit. And it's like basically having roast. This is so tender and so good and so well flavored. It's like basically having roast available, ready to eat, without having to cook it. So if I come in from the garden and we need a meal, I can put something on the table quickly. And you know, this is way cheaper and way healthier than trying to buy lunch meat or something like that, or having to cook hamburgers every single day to send with my guys that are working. So I'm just gonna get all that. And if you don't get all of it, it's fine. It's just that it was in there to flavor the meat, and you don't really want to just eat straight beef fat, right? That wouldn't be too good. Okay, so I'm just gonna set that aside to discard it. I'm actually gonna drain the juice off of this. Okay, I'm gonna dump it in my bowl and just shred it with a fork, and it shreds really easily. So this was put into the jar in chunks, so it's already cut up some. Okay, and I'm gonna dump in the whole jar of pickle relish. You can also put hard-boiled eggs in here if you cut them up, but I don't have any made today, so this is just how it's gonna be. Okay, and then I'm just gonna add some Miracle Whip. And pepper. And salt. And I'm just gonna mix it up. All right, and really fast, I'm just gonna put some on these sandwiches. Okay, less than 5 minutes. Lunches are packed. This is gonna go in the refrigerator. I can send it with them tomorrow or the next day. And I'll put these in sandwich bags and be ready to go for the day. Thanks for coming along with me today as I showed you how to make this simple and easy yeast sandwich bread. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you will try this and that it will provide your family with many nutritious meals and save you lots of money. If you do try it, please let me know in the comments below. Hit that like and subscribe button, as we will be back in the next video to continue showing you how to grow a simple, sustainable life.